I'm an immigrant. We're from Ireland and from Spain. We came here as Irish navvies, as my gran would say, to build railways and canals. And my gran used to talk about the fact that after the war, and she got her first council house, actually moving out from the slums, it was the Jewish community that came in and basically opened small shops, furniture shops, that allowed her to buy her furniture and pay it up every week. And then we had the great Polish communities and we had the great Italian communities. You roll forward to the 60s and we had Glasgow Corporation and the Indian communities that came here and kept that alive and opened up small individual businesses. And if I then roll forward to the 2000s when I bought the family business and we were motoring Scotland on building, we needed the Polish community to come in here and actually build for us. So there's always been a hard-working ethics from migration for people that want to come in here and want to work. I'm going to talk about policy now. The reason that this debate is becoming toxic is because the policy that's been implemented by the government is no fit for purpose, and that has been under the Labour government and the previous Conservative government. And that toxicity is causing various different offshoots for that on the current situation that we have regarding migration, this legal migration. Is it legal, is it not? If you then go into the toxicity of it, it's absolutely appalling across the whole of the parties. And I'm very proud to be associated with the John Smith Centre here in Glasgow through the university. And I was asked recently, what do we need to do to sort this? And I said, we need to get into schools and we need to speak to young people and let the young people take the debate forward. And we piloted, Stephen, this year down at Kilmarnock Academy Mould School. We brought in Jackson Carlaw, former leader of the Scottish Conservative Party, and my great friend Alec Neil, former Cabinet Secretary SNP. And they sat in that room with young people in working class backgrounds and they asked great questions on migration and on economy, etc. And Alec and Jackson said it quite simply. Before you want to become a politician, go out into the real world and work and then come in and pick a party or don't pick a party. So for me going forward, and any young person that's looking at this tonight, you are our future, you are the debate, and this country is open for people that want to come and work here, pay their taxes here and contribute, like my family and probably everybody that's sitting in this audience tonight.
Let me hear from the audience. Man with a beard in the back row.
Aye, the problem is that people can come into the country, but people coming across in the boats, we need to get a grip on that because it's getting out of control now and people can't get houses closed up.
I totally agree. I totally agree. When we've got a situation in Scotland just now that we've got 10,000 young people homeless, the policy's only fit for purpose. And the reason we're in this mess, and I welcome the Cabinet Secretary increasing the housing budget, but this is inherent since 2008 because the country has never recovered from the crash and the housing crash from 2008. We had over 3,000 builders, developers in Scotland that built homes. We've got less than 120 now, and it has to change.
Okay, Alex Kitt, you're a councillor here in Glasgow, where the City Council has talked about concerns about social cohesion in the city because of the pressure that is being put on housing and other services due to migration.
Absolutely, and there is a lot of pressure on the services, and it's fundamentally down to the way the system is currently not working at the moment. Now, the UK government have half the time people granted asylum are able to stay in government buildings, which has effectively meant that there's a lot more people being putting pressure on our housing system. It's also not come with additional funding too. Now, people who are claiming asylum have leave to remain. A lot of them have been through really traumatic experiences, and fundamentally, you know, I believe that migration is one of the things that makes Scotland and this city so great. But fundamentally, the UK government have to come to the table. They have to discuss this. The City Council leader and the City Convener for Homelessness have written, and not recently, quite a while ago, written to the UK Minister responsible for this, and they have heard not a peep. Thankfully, the Scottish Government are engaging with us and knocking on the door of the UK Labour government. it really sticks in macro when the people in my communities are being impacted by this. The UK government has not got back in touch with the council, and we're seeing briefing about Keir Starmer, whether he's going to remain the next Prime Minister, and Westminster political games being played when this is really impacting the communities across this
Should
side.
migration to Glasgow be paused until this is sorted?
Well, that's one of the serious things that was raised by the council leader as a potential outcome. Obviously, we'd rather it sorted and support is found from the UK government to make this work.
Thank you. Man with the tie, halfway at the back.
Yeah, I don't think that it's not immigrants that we have become intolerant of. I think it's mass, uncontrolled immigration imposed against our will at great cost to not only our economy, but to our culture, to our safety.
Thank you. Man on the end of the row, just the third row back there. Yes, on you go.
Yeah, I think Manny said there was 3 elements, and the last one she said was politicians. And I'm a little bit concerned that one of the main drivers of this discussion is politicians looking for publicity, looking to inflame the situation, and looking for hits on Twitter, and looking for a bit of public feedback. I mean, even earlier on, one of the panellists brought up figures about Nigeria, you know, as if this was Nigeria and Christianity, looking for inflammatory issues. And I just wonder if we look at these economic problems, if we to weight them, or look at a business point of view and say, how much money are we losing in the energy sector, all the different problems the country faces, how far up this list is immigration? What's it costing us? Should this be the first problem we're tackling, or are there other ones which are more significant we should be going after?
Thank you. Lady in the dress next to the man in the tie. Yes.
Hi. Yeah, so basically I do think that Scotland is becoming less tolerant towards migrants. I am from Poland and I came here 16 years ago. And everything was fine until Brexit vote, when I was being blamed on debate for taking people's jobs and also taking all the benefits. So there's always someone to blame. And
But that was the start. That was the change for you, was Brexit.
Yes, that was when it started changing. It's actually not too bad in Glasgow in general, but I feel like immigrants are always blamed for a lot of things that is actually not our fault.
Okay.
Like the fact that the services are under so much stress. It's not just immigrants' fault. You get Brexit, and then less people come in, and less people are here to do the job, for example.
Thank you. Murdo Fraser, does this all start with Brexit, Murdo Fraser?
Well, one of the ironies of Brexit was a lot of people voted for Brexit thinking it would reduce immigration. Immigration actually doubled post-Brexit because more people came in from other parts of the world. That's not necessarily a bad thing, and I agree with Marie that the bringing people in from other countries to fill skills gaps in our economy, to contribute to society, is a good thing. I think what concerns people are 2 things. First of all, when our services can't cope with a number of people coming in. So housing's been mentioned already. That's a serious problem. People can't get houses. If you're influxing hundreds of thousands of additional people, that just adds to the heat around housing.
They're sent here by the Home Office, Murdo, and that started under the Conservative government.
Yeah, I'm not talking just about Glasgow, I'm talking about the country as a whole, where you've got to make sure that public services are there. Housing, health services, education services need to be there to cope with people who are coming in. But the other issue here is people conflate legal immigration with illegal immigration. And people watch, understandably, on their TV screens, these pictures of folk coming across the channel in these boats. Now, Keir Starmer promised us at the election last year he was going to stop the boats. He was going to smash the gangs. That didn't go very well. And his great idea, which was 1 in, 1 out, what's happening to the guys who are being sent home? They're just getting on the next boat and they're coming back over again. So it's not working. So we need to have properly managed immigration so we can welcome the people the country needs. But we shouldn't be letting any Tom, Dick or Harry into the country just because they can get on a boat and come across the channel.
You had
and
14,
it's getting
you
worse
had 14
under
years.
Labour.
You had 14
You promised you were going to solve it, and it's getting worse.
I'm not going to take a lecture from Murdo and the Conservatives, who had 14 years in government and fundamentally broke the asylum system, spent money on gimmicks like the Rwanda scheme and fundamentally did nothing to actually tackle some of the real problems, because people are very vulnerable and are in the hands of criminal smuggling gangs that do need to be smashed and the action needs to be
you've
taken.
had a year
well,
to
you've
do
had
nothing
14 years, Murdo, and the
haven't solved
system
it.
is
You haven't
broken.
solved it.
You have broken the system, and we have inherited that system. And actually, what you'll find is that in the year since we took office, hotel use, for example, has come down in terms of hundreds of less hotels now being used for asylum seekers.
Yes, just putting the
moving money towards returns and supporting people to go back to countries where they're illegally in this country. But, you know, to hear Alex sit and not take any responsibility from the SNP's point of view on this, you know, in terms of community cohesion, which I think is a really important issue, because I recognise a lot of what Marie said. That's my story as well, as my family were Irish
That's the question.
immigrants.
Is Scotland becoming less tolerant to migration?
So actually, I think what people are concerned by very often is there's a lack of community cohesion. And what you've got, for example, is the Scottish Government have no strategy, for example, around English for speakers of other languages. So one of the important things that I think everyone would recognise is we want people who come to the country legally to have a good standard of English. There is no funding from the Scottish Government for an ESOL programme across Scotland. It just doesn't exist. So you're relying on charitable organisations in places like the city of Glasgow to pay for that.
So you're talking about, obviously,
that is a responsibility of the Scottish
Government. Left by the Conservative government. You're now in government. Your party is now in government. Why has the minister not met with the city council leader and the city convener for homelessness? Can you answer that question? Because crucially, this is having an impact on the city of Glasgow. Why wouldn't they even meet with the council?
Everybody's just blaming each other here. So let's hear from the audience. A lady in the red top towards the back.
Thanks very much. I'm quite keen to just bring the conversation back to the people we're actually talking about. I'm a primary school teacher in the East End of Glasgow. We have a lovely, vibrant, active migrant community in my school. And as a public service, we love having a variety of cultures, of languages from the migrants and their Scottish children that are in my school. I'm not saying it doesn't come without its challenges, but we embrace that as professionals working in a public service in the city of Glasgow. Of course, we would always welcome more support, and we want to offer more support to our families, but these are people that have come to our country. They are not things to be discussed on a panel. They are human beings who want to contribute to Scotland, and in my eyes, they are Scottish.
Do you see any evidence that people are becoming less tolerant? That's the question.
Not in my school community. We are extremely tolerant. We care for each other. We nurture each other. We have an environment of care around our families and our children, and we will go forward with that, regardless of the squabbling that happens in Glasgow City Council between politicians.
OK, thank you. Lady on the aisle towards the back.
Thank you. I just want to say I completely agree with that, and I've got two things to say quickly. First of all, illegal immigration has been brought up. Can I just stop everyone and say that illegal immigration is not a thing, it's undocumented, and that divisive and hateful language is why we're seeing this racist and just discriminatory rhetoric that now Keir Starmer is commenting on. Second of all, I want to say that we're blaming the boats. Can we stop doing that? For example, if you're seeking asylum, you're actually not allowed to work. Like Ross Greer mentioned the other week, we're seeing this Schrodinger's immigrant where they're also taking the jobs, but they're also taking the benefits. That's not really how it works. So is it a people problem or is it a policy problem?
Thank you, thank you. Lady with the glasses, third in. Yes, on you go.
I totally agree with the two ladies who've just spoken. I think we have become extremely intolerant. I think the toxic atmosphere in the city and across Scotland and across the UK against immigrants...
Let me stop you a second. When you say toxic atmosphere in the city, what do you mean?
Saltire flags. Saltire flags being used... I was in the States for 9 weeks and I came back and there were saltire flags all over the north side of the city. When I asked somebody what it was all about, it was about immigration. It's all these people that come here. We're too full. We can't take them. Where is our humanity? These are human beings we're talking about.
Thank you. Last man on the front row.
I think people are getting less tolerant of it in Scotland because for many, many years, multiracial. I was born and brought up in the south side of Glasgow, but we'll get more and more people brought in. The Scottish government can't do anything about it. It's not devolved. And it's getting pushed on us because the Westminster government has failed with the immigration. And we're getting pushed up here, and we can't use it to our advantage to improve Scotland.
Thank you. Patrick Grant.
Well, I think if as a nation we are not becoming more intolerant, I think we're doing an amazing job as individuals to resist the absolutely overwhelming amount of kind of conversation that we are seeing around immigration at the moment. I think I lived in England during the Brexit vote, and I was extraordinarily proud of the people of Scotland for taking a felt like a very deliberately anti-racist position. You know, whilst Farage was talking about the kind of, you know, the trail of immigrants coming to our door, you know, Scotland very specifically, you know, was setting itself apart as, and I was you know, as somebody who grew up in Edinburgh, it was a fairly non-mixed community, but you know, I felt proud of our ability to see through the bullshit and the rhetoric and to make a decision based on our own personal humanity. You know, we live amongst these communities, we see these people as human beings, and we are being caught up in the right-wing storm that is trying to make us demonize these people. It's a terrible mess. The asylum system is a terrible mess. It's deeply underfunded. It's badly run. It's been badly run for a very long time. It felt like almost like, to me, and this may be completely untrue, but it felt like they were deliberately stalling the asylum system to generate this idea that we had this wave of immigration that wasn't being dealt with. You know, it is a mess, but it's not the fault of the immigrant. It is the fault of the system that has allowed a complete absence of investment in our homes, a complete lack of investment in our health system. And the irony is, the people we need to sort all of those problems out, sort out the problems with our housing and sort out the problems with our health system and our education system, are skilled people that we need to get from somewhere else. I mean, yeah. I mean, if we are resisting the urge to become more intolerant of immigrants, then we need to be very proud of ourselves, because it's becoming really difficult to be that tolerant, humane voice, I think, today.
Okay, that quite neatly actually